with spring weather on the horizon for a lot of you out there, while I still have a little bit of cold ahead of me, I've had just as many moderate, mild days as I have cold days. I felt like it's the perfect time to cover the 10 designer fragrances that I'll be looking to wear the most this upcoming spring. Some different variety, a couple YSL fragrances, a few favorites that I'm going to reach back for this year, and some stuff that's relatively new to the collection. So let's talk about them. Stay tuned. Starting with one that just does not seem to get any love, especially with the new Eau de Parfum flanker on the horizon. I have not tried that yet at the recording of this, but when it comes to L'Homme Le Parfum, I think it's pretty damn underrated. This stuff's really good. It maintains the original's DNA. A little bit sweeter, a little bit denser, performs a bit better for sure. It's richer, it's a little bit fuller. It's a higher oil concentration. That's to be expected. A little bit bluer take. You know, definitely has more of a blue fragrance vibe. The color of the bottle is very fitting. You know, this is really good stuff. Mind-blowing? No. Great, easy wear that's versatile and kind of do a little bit of everything? Yeah, that's why I call it a blue fragrance in the first place. It's easy on the senses. Decent performer overall. Slightly above average. Not a beast, but definitely not weak. And like I said, one of the few YSL flankers that have been made that maintains the original's DNA and stays true to it for the most part without veering off too much, tweaking and twisting it too much. I feel like this is a very solid fragrance that can dress down, dress up. Not the most dressy fragrance out there, but it can do a little bit of everything, and it's great in the springtime weather. It has some freshness, it still has some density and some sweetness, but neither's overbalanced to the other, so it works really well for seasons where you're going to have some cold and cool, and you're going to have some slightly hot and warm, which is pretty much what spring's all about. Check this one out if you haven't yet, because not too many people talk about it. YSL L'Homme Le Parfum. Next is an interesting, slightly unique fragrance from Hermes that came out last year that had mixed reviews that I think is a great release. I really dig this one. I'm talking about H24. This fragrance screams springtime to me. It's a little floral, metallic. It's got a citrusy bergamot type of smell, but there's no citrus in it. It's green. It's got this, it does have that metallic smell. It's known to have metallic notes. A little bit of a clary sage kind of feel to the greenness. And I smell it floating in the air. It's different. It's very, very different. I could see where this was polarizing from the start, but I like it. Out in the air, it smells unique, interesting, fresh, but has this slight earthy tone to it. A little bit of floral touch, very green and a bit earthy, but still has some freshness up top. Like I said, it has a citrusy bergamot smell, slightly like the citrus peel, but no citrus note in it. It's a solid performer. I don't get weak performance out of it. It's not a beast or anything, but 6, 7, 8 hours on my skin every time I've worn it, which I haven't spent a ton of time with. I've kind of been waiting for the appropriate season to roll around for it. I haven't worn it through the fall and winter, but springtime, I'm going to be pulling this one back out. And it's one of the first fragrances I thought of when it came to springtime. This was actually the first fragrance I grabbed to put together this list for you guys. Get your nose on this one if you haven't yet. I really hope they go the route of the Terre d'Hermes line and make a few flankers, because I really feel like they could work some magic with this DNA if they really put their minds to it. Interesting to see what they may or may not do with this moving forward, but don't knock this one until you try it for yourself. I think it's perfect for the spring. It's Hermes H24. Fresh, green, soapy. Pretty much the easiest way to describe Polo Cologne Intense Eau de Parfum. This fragrance was built for the spring as far as I'm concerned. It's fresh and green. It's a little minty. It's got a dominating cypress note. A little bit of violet leaf to give a little touch of kind of an aquatic feel. There's some citruses up top, so smooth grapefruit. There's some ambroxan here that kind of smooths everything off, adds a little bit of a soapy nature. It's very aromatic. This is easy going, but it's very, very fresh green. The bottle color's fitting. The name is fitting, kind of. It's not super intense. It's more fresh than intense. And I get decent performance. I mean, it's not a beast like the name would make you want to believe. I think that's where a lot of the knocks in this one came, because it's called Cologne Intense Eau de Parfum, and it's not an intense fragrance for the scent profile. It's not really intense. And it's not, you know, an 8 to 10 hour fragrance in longevity. It's not super loud. It's like an average performer, but it smells great. If you like green fragrances, there's no reason you shouldn't try this. This is the modern take on the original Polo Green. There's no tobacco here. It's not quite as earthy and dry. Here it's much more smooth and fresh. Like I said, it's a modern take. And it's one that, another one came out to kind of mixed reviews. I bought this upon launch as soon as it became available online, and I love it. I think it smells great. I've featured it many times on the channel since I've gotten it, and since I deem it perfect for spring, I've been waiting for spring to roll around so I can pull this bad boy out, and spring is on the horizon, and I will be wearing Polo Cologne Intense Eau de Parfum. One that not everybody's gotten their nose on. It's a Perfumania exclusive. I actually sampled it there and ended up paying full retail for it and don't regret it. And I think it's perfect for spring weather, because this is another one that has a lot of freshness up top, but some density and some sweetness still to offer for that versatility you're looking for the mixed bag of weather that is spring in most places. That being Mercedes-Benz, this is the Man Bright flanker. So it has a lot of similarities to Bleu de Chanel up top, but it's dominated by tonka bean in its dry down, so it has a nice sweet powdery nature. Bright, uplifting, almost zesty, juicy feel to the bergamot here. It's a beautiful freshness, and then as it starts to dry out, it gets a little bit more powdery, a little bit more sweet. It's very aromatic at the same time. This is super easygoing and mass appealing. Really is very versatile. A little sweeter and denser than I would want for the summer, yet much more fresh than I would want for the winter and colder fall days. That's why I think it's perfect for the springtime. More people need to get their nose on this one. It's not easy to find. You got to get to a Perfumania. As far as I know, it's an exclusive to them. I don't know where else you could potentially try it, but head to a Perfumania, sample it, try before you buy it. Maybe a pass for you. But for me, it wasn't, because I love my blue fragrances, and this is one of those lovely, very fresh, versatile, easygoing, easy to wear, great in many situations type of fragrances. Ergo, it's blue. Color of the glass is fitting. It leans more blue than light blue. Like, I talk about how bright and fresh it is up top, but that tonka bean really pulls it back down to earth from being overly fresh and geared towards the summer. That's where I think it has a little bit more character than people may even realize that haven't sampled it yet. So definitely a great choice for the spring. I'm telling you, this stuff will dress down, and it would definitely dress up. I wouldn't go black tie when I say dress up, but you could absolutely wear this with a suit, no problem. I'll be pulling this one out this spring. Mercedes-Benz Man Bright. While this is still great for summer and high heat, because of the bright, fresh green aspects of this that have changed from its predecessor that it's flankered from, I think Acqua di Gio Profondo Lights is one of the ultimate spring fragrances that gives you that summer aquatic feel with a lot of the fresh green aspects that are great for the spring. It's not quite as synthetic as the original Profondo. It still performs very well, not quite the beast that Profondo is, but still an above average, very good performer in longevity and projection. I've gotten my fair share of compliments with this one so far. This is probably my favorite Acqua di Gio flanker to wear at the moment. This is some good stuff, guys. Y'all really should try it. Now, I don't know how limited these bottles were, because it was supposedly a limited edition. They still have them all over the place on eBay. Full presentations, testers, and stuff like that. You can find them in the $50, $60, $70 range for these 75 mLs. And if you just want a little bit of a green twist, a little bit more fresh, spicy green tone to what Profondo is all about, because it still has Profondo's DNA in its heart. It's still that aquatic summer beach vibe type of fragrance. Just a lot of fresh greens. This one I find dresses up a tad bit better than Profondo. While not a formal fragrance in any way, I wouldn't want to wear this with a suit. I'm not saying you can't, because you're going to smell really good. But it definitely screams springtime more than summertime to me. One of my favorite releases from last year. Acqua di Gio Profondo Lights. Just enough density and sweetness to not be the best choice for summer, yet more than enough freshness to be perfect in the spring weather that being Stronger With You Freeze. I've been praising this scent pretty regularly here on my channel at the recording of this because I'm loving it right now. Good stuff, I'm telling you. I'm a huge fan of the original. And the first time I smelled this, I was a little underwhelmed. I kind of understood what people were saying about it just being a more bland, fresher take on the original. But the more I wear it, the more I enjoy it. Literally with every spray, I like it more and more. It has some great staying power without being too loud. It trades off the warmth of the original for some freshness. It's still spicy, but it's a much more fresh, spicy take on the original, where the original was a lot of warm spice. It was a cozy, cuddly evening wear, cut through the cold kind of DNA, whereas here it's much more daytime, warmer weather appropriate. Hence why I have it in my spring designer list in the first place. From what I understand, this is supposedly being replaced by Stronger With You Only. I cannot confirm nor deny. I have not tried that flanker yet, but I'll tell you what, don't knock this one until you try it. Get your nose on it some kind of way if you can. I forgot what I paid for this. I picked it up from Kingdom Fragrances not that long ago, and it's been making its way into my rotation sporadically. I do wear this one pretty regularly since I got it. I'm really digging this one. I think it's one of the most versatile scents for the springtime weather, because this one still has that core DNA where it'll work fine in the evenings and dates and stuff like that, but it's a much better take on the scent for daytime and warm weather, like I said before. So get your nose on this one. I'll definitely be wearing this spring. Strong With You Freeze. It's fresh and aquatic, yet still very sweet. This is kind of the go-between between YEDT and YEDP. That being YLive, one of my and my wife's personal favorites on my skin. Great in the evenings. She loves when I wear this one to dinner, yet it works great during the day as well. You still get that apple, ambergris, sage feel of the original, though it has a lot of strong similarities, especially in the opening, to Paco Rabanne's Invictus. And if you know anything about me personally, I'm a big fan of Invictus and the Invictus line as a whole. So a combination of Y meets Invictus was always going to be a great pickup for me. I think this stuff is incredible. Staying power, 8-hour range on my skin, not too loud. After about an hour and a half to 2 hours, it really settles a lot close to the skin, and it's never really a loud beast like the Eau de Parfum. You want projection, the Eau de Parfum is the one for you. You want similar scent profile kind of to the Eau de Parfum and not so in your face, check out YLive. This stuff's really good. I think this is the best one for the spring of the offerings from the house. Granted, I don't have the Le Parfum, but I do have Eau Fraiche, Live, EDT, and EDP, and I really think this is the best choice for spring from this particular DNA. This is one of my favorite designer lines, and a lot of you out there love the Y line as well. And if you have YLive, spring, in my opinion, is the perfect time to pull it out. And if you don't have it, you've been eager to try it, maybe get out and get your nose on it, you may end up getting a bottle, and it might fall into your spring rotation. Yves Saint Laurent, YLive. Now, not everything I'm looking to wear in the spring is all just freshness, fun, and casual. Some stuff, a little bit more refined. I do wear a lot of Oxfords to different situations. I have different events going on where I like to, throw an Oxford on. I don't wear a suit as much as I used to. It's more Oxfords and sports jackets these days for these certain things that I have to do from time to time. And fragrances like At the Barber's from MAISON Margiela are perfect for that. This still is such a hard barbershop fragrance to beat. Look, I love Azzaro Intense. Oh God, this is so good. I love Authenticity Perfumes Barbershop. I love the new Drakkar Intense. This is still the best barbershop fragrance out there to me. Chanel Platinum Egoiste, another great fragrance. Just the quality mixed with the right type of performance for my taste for this scent profile, where it stays on my skin for, more than 6 hours. It's a 7-8 hour range, and it's not too loud of a fragrance. It's detectable, it's noticeable, but it's not going to punch anybody in the nose when I walk by or walk up to you. Even in the first hour, as soon as I stop, it's not going to hit you from 3 feet away. You might get a light whiff of it. That's really the sweet spot for me, especially with slightly refined scent profiles like At the Barber's. I think it replicates the barbershop vibe better than any other. Obviously, with the name, that's what they were going for. It's the replica line. It is to replicate Madrid 1992 shaving and leathery notes, you know, of being at the barber shop. And it really does such a good job. This is still my favorite Maison Margiela replica fragrance. I've tried about, I want to say 6 or 7 of the offerings from this line so far. I own 3 full bottles, this being one of them. And this is hands down my favorite. If I could only keep one, I'm keeping At the Barber's. This is a great, more refined, semi-formal, business meets business casual, somewhere falling around there. One of the best fragrances for that, and the scent profile really begs to work, you know, great in the spring because it's fresh and aromatic, it's zesty but still spicy, and it's got a nice leather backbone. Just a great refined fragrance that's not too serious for the spring. Maison Margiela Replica At the Barber's. Keeping with that slightly refined theme, this is the other fragrance. It's mainly going to be these two as far as designer fragrances are concerned. At the Barber's and Pasha de Cartier Parfum. If you still haven't gotten your nose on this one yet, I don't know what myself or my buddy Justin has to say to get you to try this one, because I know Justin's a huge fan of this. Justin's who sold me on this, honestly, when it came out in 2020. Boozy, a little herbaceously spicy, but there's a lovely creamy sandalwood that goes with this whiskey booze type of smell that you get. It's put together. It's not quite the aromatic barbershop vibe, though it has a bit, it kind of falls somewhere between barbershop fougere and boozy wood fragrance. I mean, it's kind of combines a little bit of both. Not really a chypre vibe where you're going to get a ton of moss, oak moss or anything like that, but it kind of gives off a little bit of a barbershop fougere-ish type of feel. But like I said, this is dense. This is dense, creamy. When I say dense, I mean a lot of, or a thick amount of, creamy sandalwood and booziness. That's the main things. And like I said, there's an herbal quality here that brings in a little bit of warmth and spice. It's a thick aroma because it's a parfum concentration, so it will linger. It's not too loud of a fragrance. It does stick to my skin almost like glue. 8 to 10 hours range of longevity, and this stuff never seems to fade. It's a pretty consistent projection. That's one of the things I love about a parfum concentration, is it'll be heavy up top. Don't get me wrong. You'll get a heavier dose of the projection in the first hour where it's pushing at its max, but after about an hour, hour and a half, wherever it kind of ends up on your skin after that 1 to 2 hour mark is kind, at least for me, is kind of the projection you're going to stick with for most of the life of this fragrance, for hours and hours in. If you got the kind of scent bubble going on that, you know, you got a nice solid foot of radiance around you that has a good strong trail when you walk by somebody, for me, that's what I get hours and hours and hours into it. This fragrance is wonderful. It's the right type of projection, and it's the right type of scent profile for a sports jacket, for a blazer. It works well with a suit. I would dress this one up even more so than I would At the Barber's, because this one's got a little bit of a head-turning appeal to it, whereas At the Barber's is a traditional barbershop smell, whereas here, that booziness just adds that little bit of character, that little bit of uniqueness that's a bit different from every other fragrance that most people smell on a day-to-day basis. I think this is a great, slightly dressier occasion fragrance for the spring. And you can get them for around 50 to 60 bucks. It's Pasha de Cartier Parfum. Last but not least, this is a personal favorite of mine. This is nothing new. It's been out for a few years now. I still think it's hands down one of the best designer fragrances on the market. It's refined, it's smooth, it's warm, but it's still fresh and zesty up top. It is Bleu de Chanel Parfum. I just wore this recently. Springtime weather is just ideal for this because it's warm but not too warm. It's dense and long lasting but not in your face. This is not a loud fragrance. It's really not. But it smells so polished. This dresses up so well. This dresses up, in my opinion, better than any of the other Bleu de Chanel options, the EDT or the EDP. I feel like it gets more and more refined as the concentrations go up because this is more of a warm wood fragrance than a citrus fragrance like the EDT. The smokiness is gone from the EDT and the EDP. The citruses are toned down. There's a beautiful lemon zest note up top. And then you get a lot of cashmere wood, Isoe Super, sandalwood. It's just a blast of smooth woods that give this warm wood appeal that lasts forever. There's a warm radiance on my skin with this one. It seems to go in the 10-hour mark easily, if not more. I usually have a shower by that point, so I'm not sure if it probably could go beyond. And this is another one where, just like with Pasha de Cartier Parfum, Pretty much after about an hour, whatever you got going on with your scent bubble is pretty much going to be majority of the life of the fragrance. Very consistent projection and scent bubble and sillage with this. Projection's not going to be too heavy, and once that projection tones down, that scent bubble and sillage that you have, that nice little aroma that's wrapping around the areas you've sprayed, is going to stay consistent for many hours. That's probably my favorite thing about this fragrance. The performance is the sweet spot for me. It's long lasting, it's noticeable, it's discoverable, it's very inviting and attractive and alluring when you do smell it, but it's not in your face. I'm not going to reach out 6 feet away from somebody and grab them with this unless you're downwind from me and it's pushing it to you. This is the sweet spot for me. This is one of my favorite fragrances in my collection that I, shame on me, don't wear enough, and I've been trying to do better at that lately. I have been wearing it more lately, and this spring I will be pulling this bad boy out because it deserves love. Stuff's great. If you haven't tried it yet, you really should. Bleu de Chanel Parfum. Well, that's the 10 designer fragrances I plan on reaching for the most this spring of 2022. Until next time, do me a real quick favor, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. So I do appreciate all the feedback. I love hearing from you guys. What did I pick that you plan on wearing a lot this spring too? I'm not saying I'm going to wear these all 20 times a piece. This is just going to be kind of my default picks when I'm in the mood for something that's not a niche fragrance or not a $20 cheapie. You know what I mean? The mid-level designer is kind of the sweet spot for me. It's the kind of fragrances that I wear the most. They are the happy medium for me, where you get some quality, you get some performance. They don't smell cheap, but they don't smell too expensive. They don't cost a lot of money, and they're not, like I said, they're not all $20 fragrances either. Really like these 10 that I have picked. Let me know down in the comments what kind of strike your fancy from this list. And until next time, I will say if you get your hands on any of the 10 that I plan on reaching for this spring and you give them a spray now, pretty confident you'll thank me later. I think they smell great. Have a good one, guys.